Games help teach us how to grow. Hey guys, thank you so much and welcome to the Game Your Future podcast. I'm Daniel, and here we help gamers realize their full potential. And today we have a special guest, Brent C, who is a former business owner, corporate employee, former teacher, and using video games to help teach his students. So, Brent, thank you so much and welcome. How are you?
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm very good, and thank you for being here. And so you've had, quite the journey from teacher, business owner, and corporate employee. I guess, yeah, tell us a little bit about kind of your journey, and just so people can understand kind of the breadth of experience that you have.
Okay, so it's a very long story, so I'm going to try to keep this as concise as possible.
Right.
So originally, I didn't really know what to do with my life, back in high school. So I'd always heard, "Hey, you're a good writer. You've got the voice. Go on radio. Be a reporter." So that's what I did. I got my degree, joined CBC, but I just found it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. So, feeling lost and going on a journey of self-discovery, I went to Asia, primarily China, where I started as just a lowly kindergarten teacher. But from there, we gradually grew, and there's a language test called ELTS, IELTS. Essentially, this is a test you take. If English is not your primary language, you want to go abroad, you want to work with someone in English. So it turned out that all the journalism techniques that I'd learned were perfect for applying for the ELTS test. So I made a natural coach or teacher. I prefer to call myself a coach, really, when it came
Yeah.
to that. So it was a real hit. So from that, things were getting too popular. I branched off. A few people approached me about starting my own school, running my own private business, stuff like that. Uh, and I also had a charity group on the side as well. So that's basically how it happened. Then the pandemic hit, especially in Asia at that time. Things got really hard. Went back to Canada. I could not get back to Asia, so everything kind of went.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So that's what kind of started the corporate career at that point, right? To have something, I guess, a little bit more safe, a little more secure, a little bit more stable, I guess, at that
Well,
point, right?
it's I was simply curious, right?
Okay.
Basically, the best of my life was spent doing something I think very unusual. Uh, and that I always want to try, like, let's try a normal job, see how that works, see how a promotion feels, just try something normal. And so that's where I am now currently.
Gotcha. So one of the questions that I had definitely from what you had told me before the call or before this recording is you are definitely very much a gamer yourself, right? Especially with a one particular game. So tell me about that.
Earthbound. Earthbound. Huge fan. Favorite video game. Here, let me show you. Like, I even got this. Like, I paid $50 for this. Best
For
$50
the
I ever
Nest
spent.
figurine, I love it. Is that an
Yeah.
amiibo or a figurine?
It's from a gacha. One of those
Oh, it's one of
Japanese
the gotcha things. Okay,
things.
very cool.
Uh, so Earthbound. I remember seeing it on an old Canadian TV show called when I was 8 years old. Video and Arcade Top 10. And just the style of the graphics, the bright colors, the design was enough to get my imagination racing. Uh, and that name went straight into my head. So one day I was at Blockbuster
For
and
those that remember Blockbuster.
remember Blockbuster.
Oh
I
yeah,
wish I still had my card. And
that's awesome.
I'm looking at the video games, and then I see Earthbound, and it's gigantic, bloated box. You really can't miss it, right? Oh my God, it's the game I saw. And I instantly fell in love with it. Uh, it,
Awesome.
it, Something about seeing the characters travel, see all these new countries, meet these different people, these new atmospheres, these new experiences. It's like I got to do that when I grow up. I've got to.
So that's awesome. So you're saying like so Earthbound, the meeting new people, going places, and that kind of exploration really kind of planted that seed in you with that kind of really got to that point where you went to travel, right? And when you went to China and it was in China that you were a coach, right? Is what you're saying?
I've done it in a variety of countries,
Okay.
but China primarily.
Right. So you're traveling, you're over there, and yeah, to the point of no longer traveling, you're like living there. You're living in these different countries, right?
Yeah.
And really, so that sounds like it stemmed from gaming. It stemmed from Earthbound in particular, right?
Oh,
That
absolutely. Complete, like I said, it got me my imagination just racing. I want to do that. I want to take a bus. I want to take a submarine. I want to take a UFO somewhere or whatever, right? And I just had to see these things in Earthbound for myself. So yeah, it did plant the traveling seed in me without question. It was a major influence.
That's awesome. And because I think that's something that for us as gamers that sometimes we don't recognize. So I'm glad that yeah, you've definitely seen that and recognized that in your life. But I think for those listening, where having that kind of, interest, whatever it is that you have, suddenly you kind of realize it's like, well, wait a minute. If I think back when I was a kid and there was specific games that I was playing or a specific genre or whatever it is, you start getting that interest, right? And that's,
Yeah.
I guess to parallel my own example, I think I was very much into Final Fantasy, JRPGs, and like The Legend of Zelda. And it's one of those things that you don't think about at the time. Like, why did why were you playing Zelda? It's like, well, because it's fun. But one of the questions I like to ask people too, and I'll definitely ask you, Brent, why are games fun? Why specifically was Earthbound fun for you?
That's an interesting question. I think it it depends what kind of game you're playing and what you're looking for at the time. Can change with your mood, can even change
Also
with your
true.
age.
Yep.
So for example, I find first person shooters cathartic. You just want to let loose. Hey, it's a lot of fun throwing on Doom. You know,
Oh yeah.
if looking, maybe this is just me, but I find it relaxing to pop on a horror game, get lost in that thick atmosphere, be engulfed.
Ah.
And as for JRPGs, for me, and even to this day, that is the genre that would flare my imagination, getting lost in those worlds. That's what made it fun. But it was also the battle systems as well. I like the risk versus reward.
Hmm.
Should I use this item now? Can I defeat this boss in just that one more hit? Um, so there's a lot of that as well going on. Using these examples, yeah, depends on what you're looking for at that particular time.
Yep. For sure. And it definitely because you've touched on a few things that I love as far as just like even the active active imagination and active mind, right? And really I think the especially like with the battle system and trying to figure out what to use when is a really good problem solving skill. And one of the things that I have on some of these episodes too is we talk about that about like how games help us with problem solving. And it's one of the best, most powerful I think skills that gamers have is problem solving. So,
Completely agree. Risk management, again, like I mentioned, risk versus reward, just management in general, managing your resources, hoarding everything. I don't think I've ever used an elixir in Final Fantasy one.
it's funny you mentioned that because yes, the in Final Fantasy for those that know or don't, Elixir was like that was like the premium item that like what was it full heal and full magic MP restore.
Yeah.
Awesome, super powerful. You get like a whopping like 4 or 5 in the game, so be careful with them. And then I'll never forget actually like my brother. I say one of my brothers. I have a few. One of my brothers wanted to play. It was Final Fantasy IV at the time,
Hmm.
and I guess wanted to play on my save file because I guess he was younger. He didn't want to I guess go through the whole game, and I had to save right before or as close as you could to the final boss. So I let him do that, and he goes to fight the final boss, and he's trying to figure it out, and he's doing what he can, and he starts using the elixirs. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like, slow down.
He
And
might
then
have a second form.
it's like, he's to this point. It's like, and it was funny too, because like I was kind of berating him on like using the elixirs, but at the same time, I kind of had to realize like, the risk versus reward, there's no other time to use them. So even because I was still kind of a kid at the time too, I was like, don't use them.
Right.
Because it was more like I was worried about he was using my save file, but it was like, no, he's on the final boss. There ain't nothing after that in that game. So go wild, use them. But you're right. But
Yeah,
like being able to have enough to that point to be able to use them then, because there's a few
but
hard fights before that too that you might have to. So,
You always got to have a trump card.
oh yeah, for sure.
Real life and video games. Always got to
Yep.
have that trump card. The elixir was always my trump card. And like I just blurted out, like I always thought it's like even at the final bosses, it's like Brent using me at the final boss. Like, no, there might be a second form,
There
or
might be
maybe
a second
even a
form
third
or even a
form. We
third.
ain't doing that. We ain't doing it.
Exactly right. And then heaven forbid there's a new game plus and you get to carry over your items and that's going to be even
Yeah,
harder concept
you can't lose that. Yeah. Anyways, it's fun thinking about that. Yeah.
for sure. And I would say the other thing I thought for me and what I kind of realized for myself for Final Fantasy, especially in Legend of Zelda, is the sense of accomplishment and the sense of achievement, right? Because I say especially my grandfather was very successful in his life, and so as an 8 year old looking up to him as like my hero, I'm like, cool. How do I do cool shit like him? And nothing comes up. It's like, okay, well, actually, what's better than saving the world in a video game? But you know what? I was saving the world. Save the princess, save the world. Final Fantasy, you just Final Fantasy is all about like deicide, basically. It's like, all right, go kill God and then save the world. Like, okay.
Basically, yeah.
And so what's bigger than that? And so that was kind of how I got my sense of accomplishment as an 8 year old looking up to other people. So when I ask, why games are fun, it's definitely these certain aspects of it that make it more engaging and interesting and personal, I think, for
Hmm.
each of us.
That's a good one. If you don't mind me asking, what does your grandfather do?
He was a politician, so he was a
Ah,
senator.
oh, damn, that's cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
very cool. And so like so he was making things happen, right? And I was like, cool. How do I do that? An 8 year old in politics, like now.
I'm curious. So I've also got, I think every family's got one. Do you know the telephone company TELUS?
Tell us only by name.
Okay, might just be a Canadian thing, but yeah, my uncle was the vice president.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yes. Yeah, so have they, every family's got that one guy or that
Get the
one.
one that's like, wow, they really did it. Yeah. So that's
Mm,
really cool. So on the Earthbound for that particular game, so being kind of the JRPG, and so you had like the battle system, it was the problem solving, and I like the idea of the kind of this exploration or the sense of discovery, right? Going out and seeing all
yes.
these places, meeting all these people, and that kind of what gave that to you. And you
Mm.
had mentioned as far as to me separately as well, as far as sharing that kind of love for the game and experience with other people, right? Tell me about that.
Well, sure. So again, I realize the influence that that particular game had on me. I mean, I say Earthbound's my favorite game, but stuff like Final Fantasy as well, like you said, right? Like pretty much anything like that. So, like it inspired my creativity as well. I would start writing little fan fictions about Earthbound, writing stories and just daydreaming my own movies. And it was, as a teacher, that's something you really want to instill in your students. Not just here's your homework, right, but rather you want to instill in them, I want to write. Teacher, look what I wrote just for fun, Um, so looking back at Earthbound and how that influenced me, I thought, well, maybe, just maybe, I might be able to influence a few students with it as well. So I mean, there is violence, but come on, like I wouldn't say it's over the top. No worse than Mario. Sure, the end section is kind of horrifying, but if I could make it through it as a kid, I'm sure they could too. So I wanted them to experience the same thing I did at 8, 9, 10 years old, or even teenagers. Come on, I love the game. Yeah, and so there was this one kid who took my advice, like, hey, wow, teacher's recommending I play a video game for homework. I'm in. The parents were all in. And
Love it.
yeah, so it got him imagining. He also has one of these Nest figures. In fact, he bought his before mine. And he was showing it off to me. I got jealous. He started creating, writing stories, right? Like just and then just showing me, just for fun, right? And of course, like I was an English teacher, so as a young one, I wasn't teaching him the test. I was actually teaching him English. So he's learning all this new vocabulary. He's curious. He's engulfed. He's translating the words by himself. He was a student who got just as engulfed in it as I did when I was a kid. There was another student I introduced as a teenager, mind you. He didn't listen to me until AVGN made his show, Angry Video Game Nerd, made one episode on Earthbound. He's like, "Oh, wait, is that the same one you told me about? Oh, I gotta check this out." And he fell in love with it as well. So, yes, I suppose I'll end there before I start talking for another 5 hours.
Oh, I'm sure we could talk hours and hours just on these games. But you brought up one thing in particular that I wanted to touch on, which was you had the parents on board, right? And there might be some people that listening, whether parents themselves that might think, usually I think those listening to the show probably are gamers already, but how would you approach those that are the non-gaming parents that say like, we have gaming as the stigma that's still around, that gaming is, kind of a waste of time. It's not valuable, or it's not, respected. And it's like, well, get off the Nintendo. We got, do something productive. And it's like, yeah, but you binge Netflix for 9 hours. Like, what are you talking about? But anyway, so what did you say, or how would you talk to parents about that? To say like, hey, this is actually a really cool, really interesting thing that you got to check out. Like, how did that work?
In Asia, and especially China, video games are, I'm not going to say frowned upon, but they are a very, very hardworking culture. And you're lucky to get 1 hour in of video games a week as a reward if your parents are cool. It's not like in the Western countries where having a video game system is kind of a thing. The first thing you got to do is earn their trust, of course. No matter what you do, like if you're just a new teacher after the first class going up to the parents and say, "Hey, I think you should play this video game." No. You know, so it,
Probably
it, it
wouldn't
took
work. Yeah.
it took about a year or two.
Mhm.
But I would explain to them my own personal experience with it and how it brought me to this point. And hey, I'm teaching your kid right now. I'm doing all right, and I want that to work for him. This is what it did for me. Um, so yeah, there does have to be an explanation. You also have to mention the courtesies, right? Like it's not violent. If anything, it's educational because this is how it can improve your child, and not only language, but critical thinking as well.
Hmm.
And so, yes, some parents will go for it, and some won't. You just have to explain the advantages. Now, of course, like I'd say a lot, if not most of the market is filled with crap that I would never want to experience, have my kid experience, right? But some of them really good for young childhood, and I think those retro RPGs, right there, or
Oh, yeah.
Minecraft in particular as well.
Right. That's kind of the new age one, is Minecraft, right? That just the free form, like the creativity, just all the sense of adventure. It's got like, gosh, it's got it all. It's one of the reasons it's the most popular game, right? I guess it's
Yeah,
the most popular game in the world now. Like,
is it still? I mean, at one point, I'm definitely sure it was.
it was at least at one point. I don't know what the title is now, but so
I'm gonna
we'll
have to
have to
look
check on
that up.
that. But yeah, so
Yeah.
being one of, if not the biggest game in the world, Minecraft, it's got all that because it works, and it works for all ages too, right? Like, that's the beautiful thing about
Yes.
it.
Hmm.
Is right, because and so you're one of the first people I've heard that says that they relax with horror games, right? That's not usually something that somebody associates with it, but right. But you can't really like be like, hey, you want to go relax, like, to your 10-year-old, to your student, and be like, oh, go play a horror game, you'll be fine, that'll help you.
Yeah, yeah. You ever hear Silent Hill 3? Definitely recommend it. Like,
Try
okay,
that
yeah, no,
one.
they're not. I mean, common sense also works. Know what to choose for how old
Right.
they
Oh,
are.
for sure. Yep. And so that's what I love about yeah, I guess more of the retro games, because it was because I guess the more modern stuff, especially with like the graphics, are much more immersive in that regard. And
Hmm.
I think that's what maybe some of the parents might worry about, like, how visceral, like, well, the blood and gore, the violence is much more real now because the graphics are way more real now.
And I can't blame them for thinking that. But with the retro, like I like to think that with most modern games now, everything is done for you. There's nothing that needs to go up in here. Uh,
Mm,
it's unless you're choosing certain specific genres or certain specific games. With the old timey stuff, there's a lot that you're going to have to use up here to be able to play this game efficiently. But that's just my opinion.
That's interesting. So I haven't heard anybody brought that up, but yeah, that's I know there's a lot of yeah, and I like to appreciate like the quality of life kind of changes, right? So from then to now, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of things that have improved as a result, where there's just, and there's I guess there's the debate on like kind of like the auto save feature where it's, and you get to in each different level, right? It's like, well, I failed. Well, I only have to go back like 10 feet as opposed to like now I got to do the whole freaking level over again. So there's something to be said for that, maybe. But to your point, maybe it's like, well, back in the day, it was like we were training kind of our resilience, right? Yeah, and just kind of this
Resilience,
hard work
persistence, right?
and the
Yeah.
persistence, right? Be like, hey, if you game over, you got to go back even further now.
And I'm gonna do
It's like, well, then I'm done for the day. I'm out of
it.
here. Like,
Yeah, I mean, like the quality of life change. Like, don't get me fine. I do enjoy modern gaming, and I love the quality of life improvements. But it has made me a lazier gamer. The games that I once enjoyed as a kid, some of them I can't go back to. I don't have the patience. Now, I wonder, is that a part of growing up, or is it a part of being spoiled by
hmm,
these new modern video game trends? Anyway, I don't know. Probably a little bit of both, maybe. But there's
probably
no denying with retro games. You had to work just a no, not just a little bit harder, a lot harder for the
sometimes a lot
experience.
harder. What other aspects do you think that attribute, or like where do you see that? Where does that come into focus for you as far as like the old games being, yeah, I guess, required more thinking.
I would say, well, for example, I'll start with something that immediately comes to mind, and that's the difficulty. You've got NES hard, for example. Oh my God, that takes a lot of grit to finish an NES game. I'm not that cruel. I won't tell my students that. But with when we get into the 16-bit, we had a nice balance, I feel, where even the PS1 era, even the PS2 era, where things were challenging. And you've got to do a lot of, I think, not a lot, but more mental exercises to get through a certain video game than you would with the more modern stuff. I don't think like and again, to get the modern stuff, you can get some hard stuff, but get the difficulty selection. And usually your easy is pretty darn easy.
Mm-hmm.
I remember easy on Super Nintendo, that did not mean easy. That meant like it's bearable. So the first thing, yeah, the difficulty comes to mind. Um, yeah, I feel here's a big one. This just came to my mind. Tutorials. So with modern
Tutorials.
gaming, you got to do this to do that. Have you done it yet? Press this. Good job. You didn't have that with the retro games, right? You've got to figure this out on your own, buddy.
Yeah,
Instruction manual might help a little. So
that's
I
right.
think
Back
that's
when
another
people
thing
actually
that
read the
occurs
instruction
to
manual
mind.
because it was almost required for some games.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, the tutorials is a good one because, yeah, I guess sure there's a lot more buttons on controllers now, so there's a lot more things you can do, I guess, but um I think it's also depends on, how it's used in the game. Like sometimes the tutorial is just like, hey, this is what this button does. Great. But the games that actually weave it into the level or the narrative, like I think are much more impactful because it's like, oh, you get to an obstacle. It's like, all right, well, this is how you get past this obstacle because you have some special thing and you got to make sure to hit the right button for it. Um, because you're right, back at the Super Nintendo, even Super Nintendo, it's like, yeah, we're going to add shoulder buttons and we have like four other buttons in addition to the D-pads. Like, okay, there's way more buttons than the Nintendo. It's like four times as many buttons, but you still didn't have the tutorials. I think one of my favorite ones that I remember, and I watched a video on too, which was Mega Man X. Did you
I
ever play
was just thinking that. Ego Raptor, right?
Ego Raptor's Mega Man X video?
Yep.
Yes. For those that haven't seen that, that's a great one. And that's the way he explained it. The way that Aaron explained it in the video was just like, yeah, you teleport in, there's X. He's just standing there. What do you do? It's like, well, there's a wall to your left, and you can only go right. So I guess the game's teaching me I always have to go right. so, so like that first level, and really is, and I think the really good games do that, where like the first level, there is no tutorial level. Level one is the tutorial.
Hmm.
And that's what I say also about like MMOs, right? I don't know if you've played any like the big MMOs like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy 14 or anything like that.
Never been
Uh,
into MMOs. The only one I ever did was Ultima Online. And even then, I
that's
just got
funny because
screwed
I
around.
played Ultima Online.
Oh, shoot, eh? What a
That's
coincidence.
crazy.
Yeah,
So we played a lot more similar games than I even thought. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
So Ultima was probably like an exception because it was so early on, so they were still finding a whole bunch of stuff. Once you got to kind of the WoW and you got to the theme park MMO kind of style, I guess, and there's like the very specific level progression, and then you had the end game, your max level, and what do you do now? It's like, well, there's all these like hard raids and stuff that you go do with a bunch of people. And it was always funny to me when people, at some point, Blizzard with WoW, Final Fantasy 14, everyone did this. At some point, they're like, hey, do you want to play with your friends? Well, that's cool. You can start a character now and you can pay an extra like $40 on top of the game and just power level and just immediately level your character to max. Now you can go play with your
Hmm.
friends. Great. On paper, sounds good. And it was always funny to me when the people that did that, they were like, but there's no tutorial. What do I do? Like, I'm max level. I can now play with my friends, but I don't know how to play the game. And I said, that's what level 1 through 50 was for. Because they slowly get things more difficult and slowly teach you abilities. They slowly unlock abilities. So you don't have all your abilities till your max level. It's like you're slowly getting them over time. So
Hmm.
it's like, that was the tutorial. You missed it. It's just
Fair enough.
unfortunate. So yeah, I just think there's just so many things that we can do as using games as these kind of teaching tools, and I love that you've used that with some of your own students to kind of just showcase that and kind of share that not only just the love of video games, but just kind of how powerful they are as these teaching tools. So that's super cool, super fantastic. I love that. I think that's the huge part of it is just, understanding just very simply that you can use it as a teaching tool, and that you can use it in whether in the classroom or with with students to kind of showcase, these kind of skills. I've always been a proponent, like it helps with, problem solving, strategic thinking, and especially like in developing your own like leadership skills too. It's just fantastic. And you brought up a few that kind of the ones I haven't mentioned as much on this show, which, risk management, huge. And I love the example using like the elixirs from Final Fantasy, right? It's like, all right, risk reward, is this the time to use it?
Oh, yeah.
As well as just, and I say like strategic thinking, but also like we say like critical thinking, just like making sure, you're getting, can you get to the right answer with the information that you're given? So that's really cool, really fantastic.
Well, just to apply it a bit more to when I was actually doing business, right?
Hmm.
I mean, money management. What can we spend? What can't we spend? Knowing when to spend. For example, inventory management. In a way, it also taught me negotiation. Uh, how can I put this? Like, which spell to cast at the right time? Do I just want to do with a simple attack? How much MP do I got? How much collateral do I've got to get a position of power in a negotiation? Just talking about how these influence my business acumen would, in and of itself, take about an hour. But these are also specific examples that I attribute to my passion for JRPGs as well.
That's fantastic. I love that analogy too, because it depends on the game as well. But like one of the things I love too about kind of the JRPG example is that you can have it's the short term also versus the long term, right? Like I need to win this battle, but is it going to help me? Like is this also going to be too much? Do I need to take the short term hit a little bit to save the MP because I have a whole dungeon to get through? And I got to save for the boss, right? Even just like your currency of your health and your MP, you're like, yeah, I don't want to be blowing all my big spells on like the trash mobs when I have this big boss coming up. So again, so
Absolutely.
that's why it depends on the game. Sometimes they refill your stuff after every battle, even. You're like, well, so I don't have to worry about that then.
It's that's
That's easy.
rewarding. Yeah.
That's
No,
a little
that's
bit more
brilliant.
boring in
Yeah,
that
you're right.
regard, but
Long term versus short term. Yeah.
but yeah, so and I think that is a huge skill that, and you have to like, and as again as the gamer, you have to you intuit pretty quickly, right? Because gamers were smart. We're like, hey, if I blow all my MP on the trash mobs, the boss is really hard and sucks. So
Exactly, right?
so you
Always
go
got to
back and
have some
reload. You're like, all right,
MP.
I'm not going to do that again. And then, but it's just so interesting and cool to take that outside the game to say like, hey, in negotiations. It could be something like, I could throw the hammer down and be like, hey, your price is garbage. You need to do this. You need to do this, whatever. Give me all the deal. And it's like, okay, you still have to work with that person in the future, right? Maybe not burn that bridge immediately. Like,
Oh, there's
yeah.
that too. Yeah, and like that, but save all your MP, use your ultimate spell, all that. Uh, like in real life, like we get these things. Work hard and you'll make it, but it's not that simple. You you need more than that. And again, I think, like I said, having collateral, knowing when to bargain, what to bargain with, and how much you can bargain with that, is something that, if not in the Western countries, definitely important in Asia. You can't just walk in and say, "Hey, I worked hard, give me this." No, why should I?
Mhm.
So I attribute that to, again, to using big spells, using the ultimate attacks when you can. You
Mhm.
can't go into the boss without the ultimate attack. You
Yeah.
need the
Save
ultimate.
those for the right moment, right? So
Yes.
very cool. Very good lesson from gaming that we can use in life. So I absolutely love that. So Brent, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much. And before we go, I did have one final question. I think I know the answer, but I ask everyone that comes on as a guest, what is your favorite video game?
Earthbound.
I think we all saw that one coming, and I love it. And it's yep. And there's Ness yet again. So much fun. And gosh, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much, Brent, for being here. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.
Take care, y'all.